Шановні колеги,
Dear colleagues, we continue our working day, and now we give the floor to Presidential Administration spokesman ATO-related issues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Now to your attention is the information about the events in the ATO area during the last 24 hours and about the training of Ukrainian armed forces. In Lugansk area, the enemy continues to shell positions of ATO in Stanitsa-Luganska region, this time after sunset. The shelling continued for an hour, and the Ukrainian forces were forced to return fire. Also, the militants from right bank of Seversk Donetsk River delivered short-term armed provocation at our positions that are near Caesar village, that is near to Ukrainian and Russian border. 4 times the enemy violated ceasefire in the region of Popasna. At that, the militants used small arms. After sunset, the militants opened mortar fire at our positions. In the region of Bakhmut highway, it was calm. And during the last 24 hours in Lugansk area, there were 6 enemy provocations, half of which were non-precision. In Donetsk area, the intensity of fire decreased. The number of enemy shelling was 1.5 lower, and these were 20 times. And the number and instances of mortar use was halved down to 9. Artillery wasn't used by the enemy. The situation is tense in Avdiivka production area and in Zaitsevo. There, the enemy uses mortars in the day and at night. In Svetlodarsk Bulge, there were 2 short-term armed provocations, and to the south and west of from occupied Gorlovka in the region of Novoselyevka Druga, the enemy delivered 2 heavy shellings of ATO forces for about 2 hours. The enemy used mortars, large caliber machine guns, and grenade launchers of different systems. Also, enemy armed provocations delivered at the Donetsk airport. In Mariupol area, the situation remains the same. The most intensive military actions are to the north of Mariinka and Krasnogorovka, and in the south near Priazovye. After midnight, the enemy continued shelling from cannons and mortars. It shelled the positions to the north of Mariupol area in Krasnogorovka and Mariinka. The enemy launched 70 artillery shells and 50 mines of different caliber during the day. Heavy weapons was not used, but after sunset, the intensity of enemy fire increased, and at about midnight, the militant groups opened fire with mortars in Krasnogorovka, and they launched about 30 mines. At the front line, Berezovo-Granitne, there were about 10 sporadic provocations of the enemy with the use of grenade launchers, machine guns, and APCs. In Shirokino, the situation is calmer than the previous day, but it is far from ideal. The enemy delivered sporadic shellings of Ukrainian ATO positions with the use of grenade launchers and small arms. And in the evening, it delivered fire with the use of mortars. Also, the militant groups used mortars in Vadino and Lebedinske. Also, the militants used APCs while shelling our positions. In Mariupol area, there were 38 enemy shellings, including 11 with the use of heavy weapons. Also, the militants continue aerial photography reconnaissance of ATO positions. Yesterday, we observed 3 flights of air drones of the enemy in Mariupol area. During the last 24 hours, in the result of the military actions, 1 Ukrainian serviceman was killed and 4 were wounded. We express our condolences to the relatives of those who were killed. Losses of the enemy: 2 killed and 7 wounded. These are the militants from the ranks of 4 militant formations based in Gorlovka, Makiivka, Donetsk, and Lugansk. It was identified that one of the militant name was Alexander Andreevich Kulik, 1991. In Svetlodarsk, police officers detained the militant. He was repeatedly convicted. He is a 43-year-old man from Novolugansk village. He repaired computer equipment, also established communication equipment for the militants. Also, he served with the machine gun in his hands, and also he uploaded the ammunition to mortars in Ural vehicle and brought this lethal freight to the front line. In April, this man was sent for a medical examination to Gorlovsk military commissariat, but he fled to Svetlodarsk, where he lived till the end of May, hiding from justice. Also, SBU liquidated drug addict den in Svetlodarsk. It was found out that the militants recruited people to the armed formations. The organizers of this facility and some accomplices were detained. It was established that they had connections with the militants of DPR and were planning to recruit new militants. And we should remind that this is not the first instance when the militants recruit representatives of marginal groups. We have already informed that 80% of people who served their sentences in the Inakiv detention facility were recruited to replace losses among the militants. In Bakhmutsk region in Donetsk Oblast, near strategic highway Kiev-Kharkiv Dovzhansky, law enforcers found a cache of ammunition. They confiscated 15 TNT blocks, mass of each 200 grams, a grenade with a fuse, 2 electrodetonators, and a mine. The overall mass of the TNT is 3 kilograms. That is enough to blow up a bus. Also, during the last 24 hours in the Donetsk area, police officers confiscated 6 grenades, detonator, and 130 cartridges. Ukrainian servicemen continue to undergo training. In Nikolaevshina, students of Center of Marine Forces or Armed Forces of Ukraine were taking part in firing training. The students are trained by officers who got ATO experience. According to Chief Intelligence Department of MOD, the residents of temporarily occupied territories are dissatisfied, and on the 13th and 14th of July in Krasny Luch town, people demonstrated against accumulation of military equipment in the building of local machine building plant, and also against the deployment of large caliber artillery and grad systems. People are dissatisfied, and they say that they are ready to provide ATO forces with coordinates of personnel facilities, storage facilities, and hangars to harm the enemy. Thank you. This is all information. Please, if you have questions or comments. Thank you, Colonel. Questions? Ksenia Dvornikova, 5th Channel. Tell us, please, where these guys were killed or wounded. In the region of Mariinka, in the course of mortar and artillery shelling, about 1 a.m., 1 serviceman was killed and 2 were wounded. And also in the course of shelling, with the use of automatic grenade launchers and machine guns, 1 serviceman was wounded in the region of Avdiivka and 1 in the region of Zaitsevo. Thank you, Colonel. Do you have other questions or comments? If there are no, so we'll end press conference. Thank you. Till the next time. The next